Hi, I'm Brad from Ductus, and I'm back with another video discussing one of the four core pillars of impactful automation. In this video, we'll be discussing transparency, which is understanding what automation does and how it does it. In automation, right, we have two primary stakeholders. We have the process owners who own the business process that's going to be automated, and we have the automation teams that will implement that process in automation. And in the interface between these two teams, there can be some confusion and a communication breakdown. If we are not very intuitive and intelligible with our automation designs, it can be hard for the process team to parse that out. And automation is a living thing, right? It's not a static piece of software that other teams have to react to. It is the opposite. It is a reaction to changing business processes. It has to be very dynamic and fluid and react to those changes. In order to accomplish that, we need to make sure that automation that we develop is very intuitive to those process owners. They can look at it and say, we no longer do that. Our business process has changed and your automation no longer implements that. We need to react accordingly to the business process. We've seen failures when we developed automation with lack of transparency. There was one engagement where we were monitoring the health of an optical circuit, and the automation that we developed was dense and it was kind of inscrutable and difficult for the process owners to understand what the automation was doing. It exposed an input and output, API contract, but what was happening inside was a relative black box. So teams that interfaced with this automation weren't sure if minor changes to that input or different sequences of operations within the automation would result in the same output. So what we realized was we not only need to be more effective in establishing a shared glossary of terms and you'll be speaking the same language as the process owners, but we need to make sure that the automation that we develop is very intuitive. And we could do this in one of two ways. Just write software that is in accordance with the best practices of that team and understand how they write and read their code and make sure it's in alignment with their best practices. But more effectively, we've seen better success with the utilization of workflow orchestrators. So using low-code, no-code solutions that visualize the automation that we're developing allows process owners to observe it, look at it, and see how it actually deviates from the changes to their business process. Also, we've talked about understanding, what the automation does, but there is also transparency in communicating the output of the automation. When we integrate the automation with existing observability platforms and provide teams with the telemetry they need, it makes it much more obvious that the automation is not only running, but actually behaving the way they expect it to. So transparency in what the automation does and transparency in how we communicate the outcomes of that automation. So by following these two practices in your company, you should see more successful results in your automation. Again, establishing that shared language with the teams that you're developing automation for, and developing automation in a way that the flow of that automation is very intuitive to these teams, reduces a lot of complexity when interfacing between process owner and automation owner. I'd like to thank you for taking time to listen to one of the four core pillars, transparency of impactful automation, and I'll see you in the next video.